Have you ever wondered why a violin sounds so squeaky when a beginner starts to play? Well, they're probably in the wrong position to play the violin. Proper positioning while playing such a delicate instrument makes the biggest difference. In fact, everyone plays the violin using their left hand for the violin and their right hand for the bow. There are no lefty violins. Hello, and today for my job skills demonstration, I will be demonstrating how proper positioning is very important to a violinist and how it impacts the sound the violin makes. Before I begin, I would like to speak about the materials I'll be using today. Learning the correct terms of the parts of the violin is just as important to a beginner as learning to read the music. The materials I'll be using today are a violin and a bow. The parts I'll be referring to are the strings, the body, the bridge, the chin rest, the neck, and the shoulder rest. I will name the parts of the bow while I explain the fingering to hold it. To start, begin by placing your feet in a V. Once this is accomplished, move your feet about shoulder width apart. This will give the player a strong and firm stance, similar to self-defense or karate. Shift your weight to your right foot, stand up tall, and do not slouch. Then, with your left hand, take the violin by the upper right body. Carefully extend your arm until the violin is perpendicular to the floor and the strings are facing away from the player. As the player does this, make sure that the violin and arm are moving in the same direction as the left foot. Carefully turn your instrument counterclockwise until it is parallel to the floor and the strings are facing the ceiling. Bend your elbow and tuck the violin under your chin so that the shoulder rest fits comfortably with your shoulder and your chin fits comfortably with your chin rest. Make sure to hold the weight of the violin mostly with your chin and shoulder and not with your left hand. To check if you are properly doing this, you should be able to let go of the violin and it will not fall to the ground. Then, with your right hand, take the bow and place your thumb in between the hair of the bow and the bow grip. Your index finger will calmly lay on the bow grip, middle finger on the eyelet, ring finger on the frog, and pinky right above the end screw. Now that you are holding your bow and violin correctly, let's adjust your left hand. The palm of your hand should not be touching the neck of the violin. This will allow your fingers to move freely and not make you constantly go out of tune. Also, make sure that your wrist is aligned with your forearm. When placing the bow on the strings, tilt the bow away from you, making the hair of the bow at an angle when coming in contact with the strings. When moving the bow on the strings, make sure it stays parallel to the bridge at all times. To ensure this happens, movement comes from the wrist. Now you are in proper positioning to play the violin. I will demonstrate by playing a few measures of the William Tell Overture. To recap, first, begin by placing your feet in a V, shoulder width apart, and shift your weight to your right foot. Then, hold the violin parallel to the floor, shoulder rest on your shoulder, chin on your chin rest, and making sure to hold the weight of the violin mostly with your chin and shoulder. Take your bow by the right hand, placing the thumb in between the hair of the bow and the bow grip. Index finger on the bow grip, middle finger on the eyelet, ring finger on the frog, and pinky right above the end screw. Your wrist should be aligned with your forearm and the palm of your hand not touching the neck of the violin, allowing for free movement of the fingers. Lastly, place the bow on the strings at an angle away from you, making sure the bow stays parallel to the bridge at all times. To ensure this happens, movement comes from the wrist. Studies have shown that children who have had 3 years or more of musical instrument training perform better than those who have not had any training in auditory discrimination abilities and fine motor skills. This is due to the fact that playing an instrument, as opposed to simply listening to music, stimulates almost all parts of the brain at the same time. After my presentation, I hope you have gained an appreciation for the violin and the technical knowledge required of a beginner. Thank you for your time, and this concludes my job skills demonstration.